Almost nobody knows these 8 tricks with aluminum foil, but really everyone should know them. Watch this short video to find out how they can help you too. For trick number 1, we want to use aluminum foil in our oven. And this has a really ingenious background, because if you clean your oven regularly, then you know how much it sucks. And it's even worse if you don't clean it regularly and a lot of dirt builds up. The whole thing will either look like mine or maybe even a lot worse. But with a little aluminum foil, you can get rid of this dirt really easily. Here's how the trick works. The first step is to spread your conventional oven cleaner all over your oven. There should really be a thin layer of it everywhere. Do the same on the windscreen. Now grab the aluminum foil, line the entire oven with aluminum foil. It should now stick perfectly due to the cleaner. This means that it sticks nicely to the side walls or the rear walls of your oven. And that's exactly what it should do, because this is how you ensure that the oven cleaner sticks to these areas and doesn't just run down. Leave it to work for about 30 minutes. When the time is up, you can start to remove all the aluminum foil again. Put on gloves and remove the aluminum foil everywhere. And here we can also use it for another step, because if you crumble it up now, you can rub the aluminum foil over the surface of your oven again to completely remove particularly stubborn incrustations and dirt. This is because they are now already pre-dissolved and you only need to wipe them off again. Finally, wipe everything out again with a damp cloth and wipe dry, and the oven is really nice and clean again. For our next trick, we want to use aluminum foil in the remote control. This has a really ingenious advantage that can help you if you don't have the right batteries. Because you know the problem too. You want to use the remote control, but suddenly it stops working. So you open the battery compartment, want to put in new batteries, but then you realize you don't have the right batteries. In the event that you only have smaller batteries than you need, aluminum foil can actually help you here. All you have to do is take a piece of aluminum foil and fold it up really small. It should end up folded small enough to fit into the battery compartment of your remote control. You may also need to trim it a little. As soon as it fits in here, we can continue. Because what you're going to do now is clamp this piece back here into the battery compartment and then insert the battery. You can see in my case I have one battery in the right size and the second one is one size smaller. We now bridge the missing piece with a piece of aluminum foil. This is because the battery will actually just fly around loosely in here. Thanks to the piece of aluminum foil, it is now firmly in place, and as the aluminum foil is conductive, you can actually use the remote control as normal. So if you don't have the right batteries, this is the right trick to make it work for you. Nevertheless, you should insert a suitable battery as soon as possible, as it is of course much safer in the end. But while you're at it, you can try this as a stopgap. And in case you've never put aluminum foil in your dishwasher before, you'll be amazed when you see what it can really do for you. Of course, you shouldn't just throw the whole roll into the dishwasher, but shape it into little balls. In the end, you'll need about 2 for the whole dishwasher, which should be enough. Tear off some of the aluminum foil and shape it into these balls. Make sure that the shiny side is facing outwards, as this is important for our next step. Now let's take them to the dishwasher, but we don't just throw them in anywhere. We should put them with our cutlery. This means either in your cutlery basket or in a cutlery drawer. Once you have put the aluminum foil balls in here, you need to add your dishwasher powder or your dishwasher tap to the machine as normal. Then you can close it and start it. This is because there is now a chemical reaction due to the aluminum foil and the dishwashing powder, and this ensures that your cutlery becomes really shiny again. So if it was rather dull before and didn't look so nice, you can make it much nicer again. And for the next step, we want to put these aluminum foil balls behind our doors and windows. But here too, we need to prepare them a little beforehand. Firstly, you need a bar of soap. This should now be finely grated. Once you've done that, we'll need other ingredients in addition to the soap. Here we should take some coffee powder. You can use fresh powder or coffee grounds. Both work wonderfully. It should be the same amount as you used for the soap. Then we need one more ingredient, and that is vinegar. But we only need a very small amount of this. Add a small dash of vinegar and then start stirring everything well. We don't want a wet mixture at the end. It should only be a little sticky. That's quite enough. Now take a little of it at a time and place it on a small piece of aluminum foil that you have previously turned to size. Once you have done this, you should add another important ingredient, namely an essential oil. Just a few drops are enough. However, it is important which one you use, but we'll come to that in a moment. Stir it well again, now close the aluminum foil or shape it into a ball. Once you've done this, grab a toothpick and poke a few holes in the top, as you can see me doing now. Poke a few holes and then you're done, and you can now put these behind your windows or doors for a very special reason. The reason always depends on which essential oil you have used. If you have used lavender, tea tree or peppermint oil, you can use it to keep mosquitoes away, as they don't like these odors at all. If you want to keep spiders away, then you should use lavender oil. Or you can simply use any scent that you like to smell to spread a pleasant odor in your home. For our next trick, we want to put some aluminum foil in a pot or pan and add some water to bring it to the boil. We also need one more ingredient, but first we should add some water. You'll find out exactly how much in a moment. If you now have water in the pot or pan, you still need the aluminum foil. You should tear off a few pieces of this, shape them into balls and then add them. You will also need a small amount of baking soda, 2 tablespoons, and 2 tablespoons of salt. Now switch on the hob because we want to bring the whole thing to the boil. If you now throw in the aluminum foil balls, there's one more thing missing that we want to add here. And that's our cutlery again. Because if you have silver cutlery, you know that at some point it no longer looks so nice. It no longer shines and looks rather dull. You can now add this and leave it in here for about 15 minutes. Now you know how much water you should use. It should be so much that all your cutlery is under the water. So when the whole thing is simmering and is ready at some point, after 15 to 20 minutes, you can take it out again. I'll show you the result in a moment. By the way, if you don't have baking soda at home, you can also get it from my shop. You can find the link in the video description below. Because this is what my cutlery looked like before. There were already a few stains on it, and after the treatment it shines beautifully again and looks like new. But did you know that you can halve your ironing time simply by using some aluminum foil? To do this, you should cover your entire ironing board with aluminum foil, as you can see in my picture. In the end, the aluminum foil should really cover the entire surface, at least the entire surface where you are ironing. Because then you have the following advantage. When you iron something now, the heat is reflected by the aluminum foil, which means that because the aluminum foil has a smooth surface, you only have to iron your shirts, t-shirts or whatever you want to iron from one side. And then it's nice and smooth from the other side too. And all thanks to the aluminum foil. And for our next trick, we want to stick aluminum foil behind our radiators. Because here too they have a really special advantage, which I will now explain to you in more detail. To do this, you should cut the aluminum foil to size so that it fits completely behind your radiator. Of course you will need to cut several pieces to do this. Now apply some double-sided adhesive tape to all 4 corners. You can also attach them in other ways, but I still think double-sided tape works best. If we now take it to our radiator, we'll remove the adhesive strips here and then carefully guide it behind our radiator. We want to do this in such a way that we can't see it from the outside at the end. Now stick it everywhere behind your radiators, because this has a really enormous advantage, which I'll talk about in more detail in a moment. You can easily press on the lower adhesive strips with a wooden spoon. Another way to do this is with special insulation mats. These are also slightly thicker and therefore have an even better effect, but you can also use aluminum foil, as you probably already have it in the house and therefore don't have to spend as much money on it as on these insulating mats. However, if you still want to use them, it works in the same way as with the aluminum foil and you just have to stick them behind it. You can get these insulating mats anywhere online or in DIY stores, for example. But what is the point of all this? Because the exterior walls are usually not so well insulated, especially in older flats or houses, a lot of energy is lost through the exterior walls when you switch on the heating. The reflective mat, or rather the aluminum foil, reflects the whole thing backwards and you have significantly more heat in your home. And for our next trick, we want to rub some aluminum foil over the tap, but not just with the whole roll. We need to prepare it a little beforehand. To do this, take a piece of aluminum foil and crumble it up again to form a ball. This way you can hold it perfectly in your hand. Now take it to your tap, switch on the water and briefly hold the ball under the water. It should be fairly wet. You can then start rubbing it over your tap. And as you can see straight away, this has enormous benefits, because you've probably noticed that stubborn limescale builds up on your tap, and this is exactly what you can remove. Afterwards, all you have to do is wipe over it once to make sure everything is dry again, and you can see that the tap is completely free of limescale. Where you can see it even better is in my shower, because here you can see that there were already some limescale stains on a shower, and we were able to remove them completely with just a piece of aluminum foil. Would you also like to know why you should spray shaving foam on your oven? Then be sure to watch the video that I've linked to you here on the screen.